COVID-19, and I want to talk about how that's affecting us. I've been speaking to people and doing my regular client sessions, and I'm noticing a lot of commonality of this experience. But the main thing I think that people are talking about is just how they don't have distraction anymore. That all of the distractions of life have been removed, that people aren't able to do the usual going to the gym and going out to meet friends and having meals and all of the many pursuits that they would normally do. Many people are hardly venturing out of doors. There's a lot of walking of dogs going on. And I think dogs are probably our best friend again, in that they're giving us a reason to be outside. But what is really happening is it's throwing us back on our own resources and giving us time to reflect. And so many are talking about the same thing, about feeling sort of stir crazy. And I don't think that's about being just inside four walls. I think the reason people are feeling this is because they can't really hide from themselves. And so a lot is rising. And the number one thing that I'm noticing people talk about is relationships, not just surprisingly the relationships that they share with the people that they live with, but actually just relationships in general. And this comes from not having the distractions again with which we can hide from. So, what I'd like to talk about first is just the fear and maybe some practical ways that you can actually address this. I don't, excuse me, I don't think it's fear of this disease. It looks like that. It looks like that people are afraid of that. But I think one of the biggest fears, the biggest fear, is that people don't know when this is going to end. Think about the things that you faced in your own life, and when you've known that there was going to be an end to whatever you were facing, was it not easier when you knew that? You sort of pace yourself, and mentally you're projecting forward into that time, and you know, okay, so it's only 2 more weeks or whatever. But currently nobody knows. And I think that is very tough for a lot of people to deal with. So what I will say to you is that, and I think I've referred to this before, is it's finding that certainty in uncertainty. And so the first thing is accept that you don't know and you're not going to know. It may seem that you've accepted that. It may seem that that's the reason you're afraid, but actually you're fighting against it. And that's what's causing that tension within you. And it's throwing up a lot of thoughts and feelings that are difficult to deal with. So if you could just start by fully embracing, fully, harmonizing, if you will, with the fact that you just don't know and you're not going to know. That will help. It will ease something. And when I say harmonize with it, I mean, imagine that you go to the center of the feeling, and that feeling is uncertainty. Imagine that you go right to the very heart of it, and you allow yourself to feel the strength of it. Just breathe through it. Don't analyze it, don't judge it. You don't need to understand it, just experience it. And as you breathe and experience that feeling, you will notice that naturally, as a consequence, it will begin to disperse. So just accept, first of all, that feeling. And then if there's any other feelings associated with that, and they may actually naturally just disappear, dissolve, but if there are any, like anxiety or anything else that goes with it, do the very same thing. Just get right to the center of that feeling and breathe into it. I feel like a lot of us are having to parent our inner child through these times. And what I mean when I say that is that this is stirring up real inner child fears, fears that go right back to your early life in moments when you might have felt scared or uncertain, and it's being triggered during these times. And so I will say to you what any parent knows, which is that a child simply wants to be heard. So if there's a feeling and it's coming from feeling out of control, which for sure that's a main one. If you're scared, just let yourself feel it. Trying to deny it, trying to dress it up as something else or avoid it, actually just gives it a sort of impetus to show up in another way. And so it is, what can I say, respectful to that part of you to allow it to have a voice. And if you want to conceptualize it, this can help too. Imagine yourself as a child under, I don't know, about the age of 5 years old. Picture yourself and have a sort of imaginary vision, if you will. And believe me, this imaginary vision, you are actually doing something within yourself as you imagine this. It's effective. So imagine yourself as a child, and then you as an adult, as you are now, stand next to the child's self. Put your hand on the child's shoulder, if you will. You can look the child in the eyes and say to it, I see you, I hear you, and I accept you, and I will not leave you. And you'll find, interestingly, go and try it and see if it doesn't make a difference for you. You're going to find that there will be an easing of some of those feelings that you're having. And you can do that as many times as you like. But know that the fear, and remember that's really primarily fear of uncertainty, that the fear cannot exist in the present moment. So all the anxiety, all the fear, the depression, which is just anger and frustration turned inward, if it's circumstantial and based on these current circumstances, all of those heavier emotions, they cannot exist in the present moment. So most of you who are feeling fears and anxieties about getting ill or not having enough money, these are real situations, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Or just simply just the uncertainty that those emotions, those fears can't exist if you are here right now in this present moment. And so they're coming from your past or a projection into the future. If you breathe and bring yourself into the present moment, and sometimes using your senses can be a really good way of doing that. So activate your senses, look around you, focus on some things that you can see, that you can touch, that you can smell, etc. So use your senses to kind of ground you in the present moment and breathe. You'll find that you cannot hold the same fears. You simply can't. So that will help as well. There's many, many ways that you can deal with fear, but that's the most direct one because it's coming from within you. Obviously, you can use music, you can use exercise, connecting with other people and sharing your feelings can be beneficial. There's a lot of different things that you can do. And if any of you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I'm happy to, suggest something. But for now, I think this one's more relevant. So that addresses some of the fear that's coming up, but what about the opportunity that this presents? I mean, you probably never in your life had to face yourself to this extent. And so this is giving you the chance to let go of what doesn't belong, to find new ways of meeting things that have been probably cropping up in your life as patterns previously, albeit not as dramatically as at the moment. This is your chance to finally let some of that stuff go. Now, I wouldn't say set out on that journey trying to get rid of these things, because again, that comes from a lack of acceptance, and change is only made through acceptance. But I will say that this is your opportunity from yourself to yourself with which to, shine brighter, clearer, and travel lighter. So this week, I wish that for you more than anything, that you're able to travel a little lighter through all of this, and that the times as they unfold reveal to you that you can handle a great deal more than you thought you could, and you can. You were made for this.